إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه وبعد. My dear brothers and sisters, the fourth element of teaching the Quran Al-Kareem is the importance of Tazkiyatun Nafs. If you go back to the ayat of where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam this task, and he taught him the 4-step process. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. Now, Tazkiyatun Nafs, cleaning of the heart, cleaning of the soul. This is a very, very critical element in understanding the Kalam of Allah, in allowing the Kalam of Allah to settle, to take root, to germinate, and to bear the fruit of guidance in our hearts. It is extremely important for us to focus on the cleaning of our hearts. A good way of illustrating this is to think agriculture. If you have the best seed in the world, but if you take this best seed in the world and if you plant it into soil which is not prepared, soil which is stony, which is dry, which has not been prepared for planting, and you take this best seed in the world and you put it into that soil, what's going to happen? Either the seed will not germinate at all, or even if the seed germinates, that seed will never give you the kind of crop that is the potential of that seed to give us. The same issue is with the Kalam of Allah. The Kalam of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is pure, and it does not reside in a place which is impure. And that's the reason why it is very important for us to clean our hearts before we approach the Kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and most definitely to clean our hearts before we teach the Quran to anybody else. For teachers of the Quran, it's a double whammy. It's two responsibilities: purify yourself and help the student to purify himself or herself. Now this means that a teacher of the Quran must also be a murabbi, must also be a muslih. I know it's a bit of a stretch. I know you might tell me that, what can we do? We don't have people like that. But my point is, it is our job to set the standards. Just because we don't have people like that commonly available today, alhamdulillah there are people, but just because they are not common, it does not mean that we bring the standard down. No, we keep the standard where it is. This is what ideally should be. The teacher of the Quran was and used to be a muslih and a murabbi. Rabi'atul Rai was a teacher of the Quran, and he was the muslih and murabbi of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. Right? People who taught the Quran were people who themselves, their own tazkiyah had been done, and they monitored that, and they knew how to do the tazkiyah of the student who came to him. Now, brothers and sisters, Ibrahim Adhem rahmatullahi alayhi went in search of a teacher. He went in search of somebody to clean his nafs, because he wanted to learn the Quran, he wanted to learn the deen. Ibrahim Adhem, for those of you who do not know, he is a well-known personality, and he is one of our Salafus Salihin. He was the king of the kingdom of Balkh, which is currently in the whole area which we know as Afghanistan. He was the king of Balkh, and one day he decided to leave his kingdom and go in search of a Shaykh, to go in search of a muslih and a murabbi for his own tazkiyah and for his own tarbiyah. So Ibrahim Adhem went, and he came to this person. He came to him and he said, I would like to learn from you, please accept me as a student. This murabbi, this muslih, this Shaykh of his, he told him, sure, I will accept you as a student, but you have to agree to do whatever I tell you. So he said, yes, I agree. And this was the whole process of bayah, which used to be given, because not based on bayah was not to take money from them. The bayah was an agreement to obey the teacher and to do what the teacher tells you to do. So Ibrahim Adhem agreed, and the Shaykh said to him, he showed him his stable of his horse, which was a distance away from his house, and he said to him, go there in that stable and clean a place for yourself and stay there and make the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibrahim Adhem must have thought, what a strange ustad is this, that I am a king, I have come from my kingdom, I have come with all these good intentions of learning the kalam of Allah, I have come with the intention of cleansing myself and of Tazkiyatun Nafs, and I am being asked to go and stay in a stable of a horse. Anyway, Alhamdulillah, students had more adab than they have today, so he didn't question his ustad. He went and he cleaned a small part of the stable, and he put his bed there, and he was on his bed and he was making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole day passed. In the evening, the groom brought the horse of the Shaykh, and the Shaykh called the groom and he said, when you go to stable the horse, when you go to park the horse, there is a man sitting there, and he said, when you are grooming the horse and cleaning the stable, he said, throw a bit of dirt on that man, throw some dirt on the man and on his bed. I am describing to you the process of Islah. The process of Islah is not some random thing. It is something where it's exactly like going to a doctor and asking the doctor to do a complete check of yours, and then to prescribe for you a medicine or prescribe for you a course of action to take care of some disease that you are suffering from. Now, you may not even be aware that you are suffering from this disease. That is the reason why you go to be diagnosed, and the doctor scans you, and the doctor says, this is the issue with you, with your heart, this is the issue with your kidneys, this is the issue with your lungs, and obviously the cure is not the same. He is not going to give you the same, he will not prescribe for you the same treatment for a heart ailment as he will prescribe you for a lung ailment, or as he will prescribe you for a liver ailment or a kidney ailment. The treatments are different because the diseases are different. So this man, this Shaykh, he said to Ibrahim Adhim, go and stay in the stable, and he said to the groom, throw some dirt on the man when you go to clean the stable. The groom went, and as he is sweeping the place, he throws some dirt on Ibrahim Adhim. Imagine the state of that man. Here is this king of Balkh. He came from his palace. He lived his whole life. He was born in a palace. He lived his whole life in luxury, in great splendor. He was the king. There is no one to question his authority. Now first when he goes to the Shaykh, the first problem that he encounters is that he is asked to go and stay in a stable, and the second second problem he encounters is that this groom of the horse throws dirt on him. Now imagine, from the perspective of the king, who is the groom of the horse? The groom of the horse is nobody. The groom of the horse is someone that the king probably never even sees in his normal life. Right? The horse is brought to him by one of the nobles, is not brought by the groom. The groom is somebody somewhere who does something. The king doesn't even know the man exists. And such a man, from such a low social status, he is actually throwing dirt on the king. What do you think Ibrahim Adhim did? Obviously Ibrahim Adhim didn't beat the man or something, but he said a few words to him. The groom came back and reported to the Shaykh, and he said, this is what happened. That Shaykh made Ibrahim Adhim rahmatullah alayhi stay in that stable of the horse for 12 years. My brothers and sisters, I ask you this question: do you think Ibrahim Adhim was tied to the horse? Was he tied? Was he chained to the stable? Couldn't he have walked away? Couldn't he have said, this Shaykh is crazy? He is telling me, first he tells me to stay in a stable, then he makes me stay there for such a long time. Salaam alaikum. I go and find myself a Shaykh who is more compatible to my way of thinking and my way of being. Could he not have done that? But he did not do that. He decided to stay in that stable for 12 years. Believe me, he did not stay in the stable for the love of the horse. He stayed in the stable for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu, with whom he was trying to connect, whose kalam he was trying to learn, whose kalam he was trying to enable that kalam to enter his heart. Why did it take him 12 years? Because he was suffering from the ailment of kings. And let me, with due respect, this is the ailment of kings and shuyukh, and that ailment is kibr. The same ailment, the ailment of king and the ailment of ulama, and that is kibr, that is arrogance. May Allah protect us from kibr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to destroy the person who has kibr, and that ailment is a very evil ailment. It's a fatal ailment and takes a long time to cure, and that is the reason why this Shaykh made Ibrahim Adhim stay in that stable for 12 years, and at the end of 12 years his heart was clean, and that is when Ibrahim Adhim rahmatullah alayhi became one of the greatest ulama, one of the greatest awliya Allah insha'Allah of this ummah. My brothers and sisters, prepare to receive the revelation in your hearts. Clean your hearts and teach people how to clean their hearts. If you don't know how to teach people, then learn how to teach people, because it's very, very important. You cannot teach until you clean, and unless you clean, your teaching will be completely ineffective. You will only be teaching the words. Don't do that. Without preparation, the best seed will not germinate. I come back again to my old refrain, and that is the two biggest ailments of the heart, the two biggest blocks to tazkiyah is money and fame, money and name. Two biggest blocks. And believe me, it's not a matter of we claiming that we have no love for money, that we have no love for fame. Only Allah will know. Only Allah knows. And that is the reason why we must fear such things, where it is only between me and Allah. We know in our hearts, what is the effect of fame. We know in our hearts how much we are tuned towards popularity, towards gaining popularity. We know in our hearts how many compromises we make, including with the principles of Islam, in order that we have more students, in order that more people come to our classes. Why? Because that is linked to our own livelihood. People come, we charge them a fee to teach them, and that's the reason why we need more people, because we want to make more money. Remove this. Please understand, do not allow money and fame to come in the way. These are the two biggest problems of people who teach Islam, who teach the Quran. The Sahaba understood this, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam understood this, all our Salafus Salihin understood this. As I mentioned before, there is no dalil whatsoever from the lives of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi Alayhim Ajmain, or from the Sirah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where they took money in order to teach the Quran. And what was the result of that? Think about this. One of the earliest teachers of the Quran was Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent Musab bin Umair from Makkah to Medina. Musab bin Umair goes to Medina. Musab bin Umair paid the price of learning the Quran. My brothers and sisters, this is our problem today. We do not pay the price. It comes to us too easy, and that is why there is no effect in our teaching. There is no effect in our recitation. Musab bin Umair paid the price. He paid the price for Islam because when he accepted Islam, his mother took away everything. And we know the whole story. I don't want to take your time by telling the whole story, but we know the story. Musab bin Umair was made destitute. His mother took away everything, including his clothes on his body, and she just gave him a sheet of cloth to cover his nakedness. And this Musab bin Umair was sent, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent him to Medina to present Islam, to teach people the Quran. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu was one of the most beautiful reciters of the Quran. Musab bin Umair goes to Medina. Musab bin Umair's friend in Medina, he tells him, there is one man in this place, if you can convince him, the entire tribe of Bani Aus will become Muslim. And that is a huge benefit. All you have to do is convince that one man. But he said, let me warn you in advance, that man is a very hard man. He's not easy to convince. He's a very difficult man. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu says, take me to him. This man takes him to the garden of Sa'ad bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. Sa'ad bin Mu'adh is standing in his garden at a distance with another friend of his. He has his personal arms with him. He has a spear in his hand. He has his sword on his belt. This man, the friend of Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, says, see, that man who just came into your garden, this is the man who came from Makkah. He is the friend of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who came here, and he is preaching his religion here, and he is speaking against our gods, and now he seems to be in your house. So Sa'ad bin Mu'adh said to the man, he said, you wait here, I'll be back very shortly. And Sa'ad bin Mu'adh came, and Sa'ad bin Mu'adh was a huge big man. He was massive physically. He came, and by then Musab bin Umair is sitting there on a platform under some trees, and the friend of Musab bin Umair, who was a cousin of Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, he was also sitting there. There were a few other people gathered there. Sa'ad bin Mu'adh came, addressed his cousin directly. He ignored Musab bin Umair. He addressed his cousin, and he said, who have you brought here? With whose permission have you brought here? He said, the only reason I am speaking and I am not actually acting with my hand is because you are my cousin. If you had not been my cousin, I would have sliced your head off. Now he said, now get out. I don't want to see you here, get out. Musab bin Umair says, I'm talking about people who taught the Quran, who had Tazkiyatun Nafs, who paid the price and who knew the value of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See the effect of that. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu says to Sa'd bin Mu'adh, I have come all the way from Makkah. I am ready to go. You tell me to leave, I will leave. But will you not give me a few minutes, just sit and listen to what I have to say? Sa'd bin Mu'adh said, okay, there's no harm in that. He sat down and Musab bin Umair recited the Quran. The result of recitation of the Quran is when Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu finished, Sa'd bin Mu'adh said, this is what Muhammad brought? This is what you came from Makkah, from Muhammad? This is what you came with? Sa'd bin Mu'adh said, yes. He said, tell me, how do I accept Islam? How do I accept Islam? He accepted Islam on the hand of Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, accepted Islam on the hand of Musab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. And then when he turned around and went back, his friend said, I thought to myself, this is not the same Sa'd who went there. This is a different man who's coming back. Sa'd bin Mu'adh called his whole tribe. He called the Bani Aus and he said, I have accepted Islam. Now you accept Islam, otherwise I will not speak to you. And the writers of this story, they say that before the night came, all the Bani Aus had become Muslim. Now brothers and sisters, this is the result of teaching Quran with Tazkiyatun Nafs. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you and me to do that which is pleasing to Him, and to do it in the way which is pleasing to Him, which is the Sunnah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. No other way is pleasing to Allah. No other way is more pleasing to Allah than the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to do this in a way that is pleasing to Him. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahim.